This is Story Recapped. Today I'm going to explain an action, horror, and fantasy film called Dracula Untold. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. In 1442, 1,000 Transylvania boys were forced to be trained for the Turkish army. One boy grew up to be feared as Vlad the Impaler. Tormented by his monstrous acts, Vlad returned to Transylvania to rule in peace. On a stream near Transylvania, a Roman named Skeljum finds a discarded Turkish helmet. Vlad, the Prince of Wallachia and Transylvania, notes that it's a scout's helmet, leading him to believe that the Turks intend to invade them. Since the helmet was found downstream, Vlad figures that it came from the Broken Tooth Mountain at the other end. He orders his men to prepare for battle while he searches the Turks' camp to negotiate. Vlad brings 2 men to the mountain and searches for any signs of the Turks. Bats fly out of a cave and Vlad deduces that they were disturbed, so they head in to investigate. Inside, they find old armor and crushed bones that litter the floor. Something in the darkness absorbs one of his men and suddenly pulls him into the darkness. Vlad and his other soldier run, but the beast in the shadows takes his soldier. Vlad slices at the beast but gets thrown off. He crawls out of the cave and reaches the sunlight. The monster stops, then retreats while its blood on Vlad's sword evaporates in the sunlight. At Castle Dracula, Vlad consults with brother Lucian about the creature. Lucian recounts the history of the vampire, a man who summoned a demon for power. The demon granted him power but condemned him to dwell in the darkness for eternity. Vlad then visits his wife, Mirena, and his son, Ingras. They greet him warmly, but Mirena notices that something is bothering him. In their bedroom, Mirena asks what attacked Vlad, and he tells her it was wolves. He mourns for his men, then recounts how he was sent to war at a young age. He wishes never to fight anymore, so Mirena reminds him that he's not safe at home. The following day, their Easter feast is halted when Ottoman General Hamza Bey arrives. Vlad offers a chest of silver coins as a tribute to the Sultan, but Hamza Bey accuses him of murdering their scouts. Vlad denies this, then asks him to take the tribute and leave. However, Hamza Bey happily announces that the Sultan demands 1,000 boys to serve his army. The townspeople protest, but Hamza Bey continues to assign the young men to their army. When one father begs a Turkish soldier not to take his son, the soldier brandishes his blade to chop off his hand, so Vlad pins the soldier to the wall. Hamza Bey reminds Vlad that he has no army and, therefore, has no choice but to obey. He then gathers his men and leaves with their tribute. Vlad's advisor, Kazan, urges him to do what they must to protect their people. That evening, Vlad admits to Ingras that his father gave him as a royal hostage to prove his loyalty to the Sultan, but he promises Ingras that there's nothing to worry about. Still, when he's alone with his wife, Vlad worries that hundreds will be killed if he tries to spare the boys. Mirena notes that Vlad and the Sultan were like brothers, so she advises that he asks for mercy. The following day, Vlad visits the Sultan, Mehmed II. The two drink as they reminisce about their younger days. Mehmed admits that his father was cruel but commends Vlad for adapting to their culture. He then asks about the boys he demanded, insisting that he needs the soldiers. Instead, Vlad offers himself to spare the boys, but Mehmed refuses. He also demands to raise Ingras just as Vlad was raised in their palace. He assures that Vlad will keep his throne, but Mehmed's general will oversee him. Vlad begs him to reconsider, but Mehmed merely advises him to have more sons. Soon, Vlad meets his family in a clearing as they deliver his son to the Turks. Mirena berates her husband, reminding him of his promise to protect their children before she married him. However, Kazan stresses that if they defy, they'll have war. Seeing the soldiers advance, Vlad approaches them but drops his weapon to avoid antagonizing them. Noticing his father's actions, Ingras volunteers to go, promising that he will survive just as he did. Vlad holds his son's hands as he delivers him to Hamza Bey. Hamza Bey implies that he expected Vlad to resist more, making Vlad realize what he's giving up. Vlad whispers to Ingras to run back to his mother. As soon as he runs, Vlad steals Hamza Bey's sword and kills him. Mirena shields her son as Vlad battles the Turkish soldiers alone. He easily kills the men but knows that there will be more to come. Kazan berates the prince, but Vlad insists that a child shouldn't be sacrificed for his country. He orders his family to be protected in the castle while he heads to the Broken Tooth Mountain. Alone, Vlad climbs the dark mountain and enters the cave. The vampire greets him, but Vlad doesn't see him. The vampire notes that no one ever returned to him, and Vlad adds that no one has ever escaped, given the countless human bones in the cave. The vampire extinguishes his torch, so Vlad blindly swings his sword. Finally, the vampire faces him and flicks his sword away. The creature observes him, sensing hope in him instead of fear. He then tells Vlad to hide his silver ring as it offends him. Vlad shares that the Turks threaten his kingdom, so he wishes for the vampire's power to save his people and family. The vampire sarcastically commends him but reveals he knows who Vlad is, calling him the son of the devil. Vlad corrects him that his family name, Dracula, means the dragon, not the devil. Still, the vampire taunts him about his bloody past and then pins him to the wall. He asks what he felt when he impaled thousands of men, and Vlad admits that he felt nothing. He justifies that he became a monster to strike fear, which satisfies the Turks and prevents them from taking more lives. The vampire wounds Vlad's neck and licks the blood. He tells Vlad he doesn't know what it's like to be a monster, but he'll show him. The vampire recounts that the one who turned him condemned him in the cave, but Vlad will be his salvation. The vampire bites his arm and bleeds into a skull. He instructs Vlad to drink his blood, promising him great power if he does, but his thirst for human blood will be insatiable. If he can resist drinking for 3 days, he will become mortal again. If he fails, he will fully turn, and the vampire will gain his freedom, take his vengeance, and have Vlad as his pawn. Despite this, desperation forces Vlad to drink the blood. The vampire turns away as Vlad's body crumbles. Vlad wakes up in the stream and finds his skin burning from his silver ring. He removes it and tries to get up, but a rock crumbles when he grabs it. His hand gets wounded but instantly heals. He hears the tiny sounds of spiders and distant animals and sees the heat of every living creature in the woods. Vlad then fetches his ring back and puts it on a string to wear as a necklace. Suddenly, he hears explosions in the distance, so he runs. At the height of his speed, he explodes into multiple bats before reverting to his form. He uses this to reach the castle faster. When he gets to the castle, he finds his kingdom under siege. He reunites with his family and addresses the frightened townspeople. He tells them that a good prince would have given up their sons to maintain peace, but he vows not to be defeated. Cannons break through the castle, but Vlad faces the army alone. The soldiers race forward and he runs to them bearing his fangs. Vlad single-handedly fights through the army, throwing the soldiers like a force of nature. He takes their weapons and slices through his enemies, facing hundreds of them alone. Soon, the battlefield is empty, aside from Vlad and the corpses. His soldiers arrive but find no more battle to fight. Vlad tells his men not to question what he did, but to trust that he intends to keep them safe. However, he knows more armies will come, so he urges his people to move into Kozia Monastery in the mountains. On their way, they set up camp and Vlad gets tempted when he sees his men eating. He retreats to his tent where Mirena waits. The couple kisses and begins to get intimate, but Vlad gets tempted by her blood. He pulls away and leaves. He finds Skeljum following him in the woods, but Skeljum defends that he's following the bats instead. He brandishes a knife, knowing that Vlad has been turned. But instead of attacking him, Skeljum cuts his own hand, offers blood, and asks to be Vlad's servant. Vlad swipes the cup of blood away and warns Skeljum to stay away from him. The next day, Mehmed reaches the battlefield and sees his soldiers impaled in spears. Meanwhile, Mirena wakes up to find Vlad huddled over. She checks on him and finds him shirtless with his silver ring burning him on the chest. Vlad wakes up and Mirena is frightened, seeing that his battle scars have gone. Vlad confesses that he became the monster from the mountain. To prove it, he allows the sun to burn his skin. Mirena pulls him away, asking why he did it. Vlad claims he did it to save his son, and promises that he'll be restored in 2 days if he resists the thirst. Vlad tells Mirena to take the townspeople to the monastery while he holds off Mehmed. Vlad waits for sundown before turning into bats to search for Mehmed's men. However, Mehmed's soldiers ambush the townspeople instead. As a fight ensues, one of his men, Dimitru, takes Mirena and Ingras to safety, but they get cornered. Dimitru battles soldiers to protect them and gets mortally wounded. Mirena instructs Ingras to run, but before the soldiers can strike, the bats distract him. When he backs away near the cliff, Vlad appears in his bestial form and the soldier falls. Dimitru crawls away in fear upon seeing him, but Vlad comforts him until he passes away. Dimitru's blood tempts Vlad, but he resists upon hearing his son's cries. Eventually, the townspeople reach the monastery. Upon arriving, Kazan scolds Vlad for leaving. However, Vlad quiets him and vehemently tells his people to stop praying as it won't protect them. Instead, he prepares them for battle. Meanwhile, Mehmed learns of the rumors that Vlad has become a monster. Still, he's confident that he can be defeated, and soon marches his army to the monastery. At the monastery, Lucian notices Vlad avoiding the sunlight. And knowing what he's become, he follows Vlad to the forge and brandishes a silver sword. Lucian offers to kill Vlad so he can repent, but Vlad refuses. Lucian slices through the tent, showing the people how the sunlight burns his skin. The people scream in fear as their prince hides in the shadow. They then yell for his death while Mirena begs them to spare him. The soldiers burn the tent while he's inside, and Mirena and Ingras are pulled away from the scene. A growl from inside quiets the people. Mirena has Ingress taken inside while she faces her husband, who walks out of the tent in flames. Vlad berates them for their disloyalty, reminding them that they've survived because of his sacrifice. Mirena calms him down, so Vlad orders his people to prepare for battle before storming off. Vlad goes to the church to pray for the strength to resist becoming a monster. Ingress walks in and offers him bread to make him feel better. Vlad shares the bread with his son and notes that he'd make a great leader because he cares for others. Ingress remembers that Vlad stopped the Turks from taking him and believes it's why he turned. Vlad admits this and assures him that he'd do it again if he must. At night, Vlad sees the army from afar. He worries about not ending the war by dawn when he loses his power, so Mirena promises to fight by his side until the end. She assures him that they've done what they can to protect the kingdom's children. She reminds him of their wedding vows, a poem about love transcending time and life. The couple share comfort in each other's arms as their enemy nears. Soon, the Ottoman army arrives. Vlad notices bats flying into the tower and discovers that he can control them. Thousands of bats gather at the monastery at his command, and when he spots Mehmed amongst the army, he sends the bats to attack. The bats crash against the soldiers, knocking them down and biting. He then gathers bats and pummels them against the soldiers. Mehmed is thrown off his horse while Vlad arrives on the battlefield. However, when he moves to attack, he realizes that an impostor is wearing the Sultan's armor. Behind Vlad's soldiers, a small group infiltrates the monastery, using the army at the front lines as a distraction. 3 soldiers reach Mirena's room, so she and Ingress run. They head up to the tower only to face Mehmed's men, while Vlad finds Mehmed wearing a soldier's armor. A soldier punches Mirena, causing her to slide off the edge of the tower. Hearing her scream, Vlad explodes into bats and speeds towards her. The Turks take Ingress as Mirena holds on. Vlad throws off the last soldier in the tower, but Mirena falls. Vlad jumps off, desperately reaching for her. Mehmed takes Ingress to his horse as the boy watches his mother fall before Vlad can catch her. Vlad cradles Mirena as she opens her eyes and sees the sun rising. Knowing his powers will be gone soon, Mirena tells him to drink her blood to turn him into a full vampire and save their son. Vlad refuses to take her life, but Mirena knows she's dying and only wishes to save her son. She begs him to drink her blood, and Vlad mourns as he bares his fangs. He drinks Mirena's blood, turning him into a full vampire while freeing the one who turned him. When Vlad returns to the monastery, he finds one soldier alive. He forces the man to drink his blood to turn him. Vlad sees a few more survivors and retrieves his dragon armor from when he was the Impaler. As he buries his wife, Vlad vows to save their son. At the Ottoman army's camp, a lightning storm looms ahead. Vlad arrives with a small army of vampires, taking their vengeance against the army. A vampiric Kazan captures Mehmed's general and drinks his blood. Mehmed's assassin finds Vlad, but Vlad pins him to a flagpole where a vampiric woman feasts on him. Vlad heads to the Sultan's tent and faces Mehmed, who's standing over silver coins and brandishing a silver sword. A bound Ingress watches as his father and the Sultan battle. Because of the silver, Vlad struggles and is beaten to the floor that burns his skin. Mehmed taunts him as Vlad grows weaker. As they fight, Mehmed opens more bags of silver to rain on Vlad. This allows him to pin the vampire and beat him down. Ingress struggles against his chains and begs for his father's life. Mehmed takes a broken piece of wood to stab Vlad in the heart, but Vlad holds it off. He then transforms into bats, then quickly reforms to stab Mehmed. He tells Mehmed that he's now Dracula, the son of the devil, before he bites the Sultan's neck. Vlad takes his son outside where his vampire army gathers. Kazan is happy at his new strength and reports that no more humans are left except for Ingress. Suddenly, the vampires gather around them as Kazan suggests that Vlad's son is merely a distraction. Kazan moves to attack Ingress, but Vlad stabs him. Kazan disintegrates before them and Vlad shields his son from the others. Suddenly, Lucian arrives, brandishing a holy cross that the vampires fear. He begs Vlad to give him the child. Knowing the monk can protect him, Vlad tells Ingress to go. He tearfully expresses his love for his son before pushing him into the monk's arms. Lucian backs away as Ingress continues to scream for his father. Accepting his fate, Vlad looks to the heavens while the clouds part, pouring sunlight onto the vampires. The vampires burn and Vlad screams as he perishes. Soon, Ingress is crowned the new prince of Wallachia, but laments that his father won't be seen as the hero he was. Unbeknownst to him, Shkeljim found Vlad's body in the Ottoman camp and offered his blood to him, reviving the vampire. Centuries pass and Vlad walks into modern London, where he spots a woman who looks like Mirena. Entranced, he catches her attention when he recites the poem in their wedding vow. The woman notes that it's her favorite poem and introduces herself as Mina. From a cafe nearby, the vampire who turned Vlad watches him flirt with Mina and follows